as well. So let me get my stuff up. Oh, here's another person. Sorry, give me one moment as I shuffle everybody around here. Okay. All right, beautiful people. I'm so glad to be here with you. I'm so glad you're here with me. We will have some time of sort of like questions and answers throughout, but also feel free to unmute yourself or type a question in the comments. Let me make sure my comments are up. Yeah, there we go. So I'll see anything you write in the comments, and I'm happy to kind of address things as they come up. But please feel free to interrupt as well if you have something you want to say. All right, so what I want to do to just get started and kind of settle in is just sort of a brief moment of settling in to our surroundings and kind of, unpacking the day that we've had or the week that we've had. It's what, Tuesday, so maybe it hasn't been quite a long week yet for you, but just doing some breathing and settling in where you are. If you didn't hear me say before, if you can grab a piece of paper and something to write with, if you want to grab a water bottle, just so you can feel comfortable where you are, get cozy, as long as you're in a seated position. If you're laying down, you might fall asleep, unless you've had as much caffeine as I have had. So to kind of guide where we're going to go this evening, I want us to tune into our bodies. And so usually throughout the day, we're busy with different tasks. We're sort of disconnected from our body. We've got things we've got to do, and we're focused on that. And we kind of leave the rest of us behind. So as you're sitting wherever you are, on your bed, on your couch, in your car, not driving, hopefully, I want you to just close your eyes. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can kind of just lower your gaze. I'm going to close my eyes for a moment, but I'm also kind of checking on my notes too. So you just kind of settle in, closing your eyes. If you feel comfortable, you can put one hand on your chest, just taking a deep breath in. And a nice long exhale out. Another deep breath in. And exhale out. You can put your hands, just rest them gently on your legs. With your eyes closed, I want you to just notice the crown of your head. I want you to hold the crown of your head in your awareness. And then I want you to become aware of the back of your head, back of your neck. And just hold the back of your head, the back of your neck in your awareness. And then moving down, notice your shoulders, your upper back. Holding your upper back in your awareness, taking note of any sensations that you feel there. Continuing to breathe. Moving down your spine, take note of the back of your rib cage. Breathing in, breathing out. Just holding the back of your rib cage in your awareness. And hold your hips and your pelvis in your awareness, just taking note of the sensation, sitting where you are. Breathing in, breathing out. Moving back down, back of your legs, just holding the back of your legs in your awareness, taking note of the back of your legs, back of your knees, noticing any tension you feel in your calves. Taking note of your feet. Maybe they're on the floor, maybe crisscrossed. Just take note of how your feet are feeling. And moving up to your shins, just hold your shins in your awareness. Breathing in. Nice long exhale out. Noticing your knees. Holding your upper legs in your awareness. Moving up, notice your abdomen. Take note of any tension that you might be holding there. Breathing in. Long exhale out. Hold your chest in your awareness. Noticing any tension there. Just holding your chest in your awareness. And moving up to your shoulders and your arms, your upper arms. Noticing any tension there, just holding your arms in your awareness. Again, with your eyes closed, just breathing in and exhaling out. Moving down into your elbows and your wrists. Taking note of your hands, and holding your fingers in your awareness. Breathing in, exhaling out. Move back up your arms into your neck and your throat. Holding your throat in your awareness. Continuing to inhale and exhale. Now holding your face in your awareness. Noticing your forehead, relaxing your cheeks, holding your jaw in your awareness, breathing deeply in and exhaling out. And continuing to keep your eyes closed for another few minutes. I want you to turn your attention towards the holidays. Whatever that means for you, whether that means time with family, time with friends, maybe that means working extra hours. Perhaps that means missing someone or grieving losses. And as you turn your attention towards the holidays, notice any changes that you feel in your body. Perhaps you begin to feel tension in your shoulders or a tightness in your chest. Maybe you're noticing the temperature of your hands in comparison to the temperature of the room. Just take note of any changes in your physical body. And as you become aware of how your body is responding to upcoming events, to re-emerging memories, take note of any emotion that comes up for you. Maybe you're feeling a sense of sadness, or maybe you're feeling some numbness in your arms, or maybe there's a sense of grief, or a mixture of excitement, joy, and dread. Just taking note of any emotions that you can label. And continuing with your eyes closed or your gaze lowered. Notice if any memories begin to come up. Just take note of those. Just acknowledge the presence of those memories. And I'm not going to leave you here too long, but I want you to imagine a container, a safe container. Maybe it's a shoebox. Maybe it's a wooden box. Note the size of this container. Notice what it's made of, as long as it has a lid and it's a safe container. And I want you to take those memories and gently place them in that box with love and care, placing these memories in the box. Any negative emotions that are feeling maybe overwhelming, you can place those in the box too. And this is a box that we can revisit. This is a box you can revisit when you need to. But for now, we're placing these difficult memories, difficult emotions, any challenging upcoming events, and we can place them safely in this box. You can put the lid on that box, remembering you can revisit and pick them up, pick up the box, or pick up the memories at any time you need to, but that they're safely there. We're just going to kind of wrap up here, keeping your eyes closed. You're going to take a deep breath in and a nice exhale out. A deep inhale in, a deep exhale out, and notice your feet on the floor. Notice your hands where they are. Become aware of the temperature of the room. Notice the temperature of your body. And as you're ready, you can blink your eyes open. And this is the time to grab that piece of paper or your journal and open it up. And what I'd like you to do is take note of, I have this little graphic here. Next time I'll probably make a PowerPoint, but this is just our little gingerbread man. And any of the sensations that you notice coming up for you as we did that meditation, when you kind of just jot down maybe 3 things that you felt: shoulders, feet, headache, warmth, numbness. Just write down those sensations and where they correlated in your body. So just sort of jotting down any physical sensations. And then next, I want you to jot down 3 emotions that came up for you. Again, I have a graphic for everything in my life. And so this is mine. You can't read it, but it's a wheel of various emotions. And emotions in different categories: peaceful, sad, mad, scared, joyful, powerful, and then further delineations of emotion from there. You can kind of break it down after that. But just taking note of any 3 emotions that you felt. And then lastly, I had asked you to kind of take note of any memories that come up for you. If you'll jot down any of those memories that came up with just one word. So maybe it was high school, or maybe it was Uncle Joe, or just sort of a one-word descriptor of that memory, not going into it. We're just kind of taking note of what that was that came up for you. And so I want that to kind of be sort of a guide for going forward. And so that's sort of the first section. I meant to say earlier, I have 3 sections, sort of 3 areas of focus that I want to go through this evening. And that's sort of the first section right there. Just taking note and letting our body tell us where it is it needs to go. Letting our mind tell us what needs attention and what it is that we're actually feeling, reconnecting with our body. And you may have had a whole various continuum of experiences during that meditation or during that mindfulness exercise. It may have been very overwhelming. It may have brought up a lot of pain on one end. You may have felt really overwhelmed by that. On the other side, you may not have felt that much. Maybe the holidays are generally a good time and you weren't really feeling overwhelmed by anything in particular. Anywhere on that spectrum is great. The goal of that was just to check in, kind of get the temperature of where you are. I want to, for sort of the second section, I want to take note or kind of do a little bit of exploration into the brain. Excuse me, I was trying to make sure nobody was trying to come in. Okay. And so what we did just then was really check into the right brain and check into the body. So we kind of have these 3 sections or 3 components of us in my mind, or how I'm about to explain it in this framework. We have our left brain, which is very analytical. I wish I had like a brain model. I need to buy one. So I can kind of show you. So we have the left brain, we have the right brain, and then we kind of have the core limbic system part of our brain, our survival brain. So you may already be familiar with this, but left brain is very analytical. It's verbal. It's focused on words. It's the logic, right? It's the one that says 1 + 1 = 2. Duh. It's the one that says, well, clearly you're safe, so I don't know what the big deal is. Nobody's going to hurt you. It's sort of the logical black and white side of our brain. That's sort of the side of the brain that our culture idolizes to a large extent. Our culture doesn't really have a ton of room for right-brainers. Sort of this more creative side doesn't really know what to do with that side. Left side is sort of the capitalist brain, output, production. But we also have this beautiful right brain, and we have our body. And so we gather all of this information unconsciously through our body. Our skin is picking up changes in temperature. Our skin is, our sense of smell is picking up on changes in the air, smells that we may not even be aware of. We're aware, we can be aware of things behind us that we can't necessarily see, but we can feel and sense. So our bodies are picking up on so much information that we are unconscious of. And that is all kind of processed through our right brain to some extent. So our right brain is very wise, but in a different way from our left brain. Our right brain is nonverbal. It's picking up on facial cues and micro expressions and It's remembering experiences of the past in nonverbal ways. And so as we, during that exercise, we're remembering maybe holidays from past years, or we were anticipating upcoming events, that was a very right-brained experience. It was remembering things from the past, projecting them onto the future, and that is what our right brain and our survival brain are meant to do. And I'm describing this in very lay terms. I'm not going to get technical with this. This is not necessarily precise, and that's not really my goal right now. We can save that for another time, or I can send you towards a bunch of books if you want to get into it. And then we have the survival, sort of a survival part of our brain, sort of the core part of our brain. That part of our brain is meant to keep us alive. That is why in 2021, the earth is well populated. It's because our brains have kept us alive through all types of threats. Physical threats, threats to community, threats to connection, because without community and connection, no infant will survive, right? So we have innate driving forces that connect us to people, keep us connected to people, because in community we are safe. If we are being ostracized, we're not going to survive for very long in the wild. Does that make sense? We need each other, historically speaking. We need each other now. And so I want to do a little bit more talk about why it is we feel maybe dread moving into the holiday season, or why we feel overwhelmed. And again, feel free to chime in the chat window or unmute yourself if you have any sort of anything in particular you want to share around this. My kind of focus with this workshop is around anxiety, especially around having to do with family. But this is kind of just good information just in general. So you can kind of adapt it to what's helpful for you. Or you can interrupt me and let me know, hey, I would love for you to talk about such and such. So we have these memories, right? We have years upon years, I don't know how old everybody is exactly, but years upon years of unconscious learning that is preparing us for the future, to keep us emotionally safe, psychologically safe, mentally safe. I think I already said emotionally safe, physically safe, moving into the future. We have this survival part of our brain that keeps us aware of all of those types of threats. Now, okay, so that's kind of where the anxiety comes from, right? So we're feeling anxiety, we're feeling overwhelm, we're feeling maybe dread, maybe we're feeling grief moving forward. And some of that will obviously have to do with any significant losses you may have had recently or in years past. But another big component of why it is that we feel anxiety moving into the holidays is around as our background. Now, I have heard it said by a lot of people, what's the point in looking behind us if we want to move forward? We need to forget the past if we want to move forward. Nothing could be further from the truth. Our past informs every aspect of our existence, physically, mentally, emotionally. If we want to move forward, we have to acknowledge the past. It doesn't necessarily mean we need to live in the past, but we have to acknowledge its effects on our present. Now I want to talk about family. Family of origin, which just means the environment that you grew up in. That could be a foster home, that could be mom and dad, that could be aunt and uncle's house, that could mean a lot of various pictures for a lot of people. So that's not necessarily look a certain way. I'm just talking about what was your environment that sort of produced you, that made you who you are now. So we have all of those experiences that inform our present, and to some extent inform one way our future could look. So I want you to kind of take, just kind of remember or note what sort of environment it was that you grew up in. The type of, so there's word attachment. There's this descriptor attachment style, and that's just talking about the way that you and your resource person, you and your caregiver, as when you were an infant, that type of relationship that you had. Maybe it was full of anxiety, never knowing when the caregiver was going to provide your needs or not, or withhold. Maybe it was very secure and nurturing. It could look a lot of different ways, but that was a very unique experience for you as an infant that has a lot of effect on how you relate to people now. So we have attachment style. We have the norms of how affection was shown. So maybe you grew up in an environment that was full of physical affection. Maybe you grew up in an environment where affection was only shown by giving money or giving a gift. Maybe it was rarely shown. Maybe affection or love was very much earned, or maybe it felt extremely unconditional. So how was affection shown growing up? That's going to inform your expectations for your future and how you define love and affection now. Conflict style. We also have conflict style. Get to know what your conflict style is. Maybe growing up, that was mom giving dad the silent treatment. Maybe that meant dad coming home drunk, screaming at the family. Maybe that meant sweeping everything under the rug. Maybe you got to see modeled for you healthy conflict resolution. Those patterns of conflict are going to inform, to some extent, what you find acceptable in conflict style, conflict management, and what you find unacceptable, what you feel comfortable with, what you don't feel comfortable with. And then we have unspoken rules from our childhood. So these messages could be something like, these are learned messages, maybe not that were specifically stated, but rules of the family that went unspoken that you learned. Perhaps that was success looks like getting a good job and earning a good living. Maybe success looks like having fun at all costs. Maybe success looked like never causing a problem. Whatever success looked like, that's going to inform our family environment, or it's going to inform how we feel about our family environment now as adults, I should say. And then we have family roles, lastly. Family roles, or family role identity. So you can kind of take note of your family members and what role did everybody have. So maybe dad was, I'll just go, kind of quintessential family roles here, but dad was the authoritarian and the provider. Mom was the nurturer, or maybe it was completely opposite. Maybe it was mom was the absent one and dad was the nurturer. Maybe it was, your sister is the bossy one, your brother is the black sheep, kind of noticing the roles that people tended to play. And notice what role you tended to play in your family. Maybe you were the black sheep. Maybe you were the good child. Maybe you were the class clown, the one who kept everybody laughing. Maybe you were the peacemaker. Maybe you were the peacemaker through making people happy. Maybe you were the caregiver, taking care of mom, taking care of dad, taking care of siblings. So you're kind of taking notes. So the point of going through all of that was to acknowledge how much is being asked of us to step back into that in the holiday season. Usually the holidays was a time of a lot of extra focus growing up. So it makes sense that we feel a lot of overwhelming emotions around the holidays, both negative, positive, old memories coming up. No wonder it can be so full of conflict or frustration or annoyance entering back into a family system, or stepping into a community that isn't your family, that feels different from your family, or feels the way that you wish your family had felt. Either way, wherever you are in the spectrum, you've got all of this history sort of you're being confronted by all of this. Maybe you can remember back if you went to college, or at times as an adult, stepping back into the family after being away. Likely as not, it was a time of conflict, a time of being confronted with old patterns of behavior, kind of being sucked back into this old environment or this old way of being. It's because you've got all of this conditioning and all of these experiences being thrust upon you. And here we are, a week and a half, where are we? 10 days away from Christmas. So cut yourself some slack. Cut yourself some slack. You have a lot of processing to do. Your body is already processing a lot subconsciously. Your mind is processing a lot subconsciously, and obviously consciously. But what this does, kind of taking note of all of these influences, so we have influences of our left logical brain, our right experiential brain, memories of experience, things we've experienced in the past. We have our survival brain wanting us to feel emotionally safe at all costs. We have, old family roles in which we filled in the past, which we're maybe expected to fill in the future. We have patterns of conflict, assumed patterns of affection, assumed patterns of success, all of this on top of us. What this does is make sense of why things feel really hard sometimes. It allows us to show compassion to ourselves, but it also allows us to make a plan for the future and choose something that will be different. So maybe choosing things that are going to be healthy for us. Choosing things that are going to keep us emotionally and mentally safe and grounded. So what I'd like you to do now is kind of take note, grab your piece of paper again, and just jot down a few things that you're feeling some dread may be too strong of a word, or maybe that's just the word that you're looking for. Maybe some negative anticipation. Maybe that is, man, if I have to hear one more comment about how much weight I gained over COVID, I'm gonna blow my top. Okay, what are these triggers or these things that we're sort of dreading moving forward? Maybe that's, last thing I want to do is family Christmas lunch with, Aunt Peggy. Like, don't know how I'm going to deal. Whatever those things are for you. So take a couple minutes, or take a minute to write down some of those things, those hot topics, those triggering topics, those triggering even topics, really. And maybe for that for you is specific people. It could be a topic like politics, Donald Trump, could be, something that's happening locally. It could be if we have to discuss, cousin Bob's issues with addiction one more time, whatever those topics are. Maybe it's specific people, so just kind of write those things down. Maybe it is, I have really bad memories associated with that room of the house or that person's house in general. Okay. Maybe it's just shopping. Shopping brings out the worst in me. Sometimes it truly does bring out the worst in me. So whatever those trigger points are for you moving into the holiday season, it's going to look different for everybody. Or places, places, people, topics. So we've kind of got an idea of what it is that feels pressing for you now. I want to take just a couple of minutes. I think it would be helpful to get a little bit of feedback if anybody is feeling led to share any of those specific things that feel very present for you moving forward. You are welcome to write anything in the comments or unmute yourself. Or not. Oh, ask the question again. Yeah, if you want to share, if anybody wants to share anything specific that you feel like you are, anything in particular that you're dreading, what feels like that challenging thing during the holidays for you this year. And no pressure to share. You certainly don't need to do that if you'd rather not. But if you do, welcome to leave that in the comments. Okay.
Oh,
hello.
I specifically have thought about how I'm going to handle the conversations about politics, just because, just from one person to the next, there can be such differing views. Mm-hmm. And everybody's views are so strong right now, just totally against something or totally for something with COVID and like the president and everything like that. So just trying to figure out how to express my opinion without making it into an argument or debating whether to not even express my opinion. So kind of like having, I don't know if I would say anxiety, but definitely pre-thinking how I would handle that situation. Definitely have not come up with a good answer yet.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, politics, huge one right now. And Alexa, I would venture to guess that you've had some times of wanting to share in the past, and it not being received the way you would like. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, like if I've had past experience with being, so if I express my opinion, then it turns into an argument rather than a discussion. Mm-hmm. And I would like to be able to keep it as a discussion, but it just turns quickly into right and wrong.
Right, that's a big one. Yeah. Right, and that's something I see really frequently in the therapy room is, making judgments of what is right and wrong, as if right and wrong is perfectly clear to everybody. Yeah, that's a big one. So it sounds like too in that area, in that area, boundaries is going to play a big role of how do I keep myself safe, and sharing where it feels comfortable, but also not allowing attacks to come in and harm. So kind of talking about, I feel like boundaries is going to be a good one there. And we're about to jump right into that. And then Mary Emmeline chatted in, not being able to escape my own home. Yeah, so some of that, just kind of making an assumption there. Sounds like self-care is, I mean, that's such a buzzword, and it's kind of an annoying phrase to me at this point, but it is what it says, taking care of yourself, and making sure you have outlets when you're feeling trapped, both emotionally trapped, maybe in a conversation, Alexa, or physically trapped of, oh my gosh, I can't get out of this house. Like everything is shut down or whatever it might be. Yeah, so what do we do with these stressors? No, okay. So what do we do with these stressors? And that is sort of where we're going with this third section, which I'm going to wrap up in like the next 10, 15 minutes. So first of all, it is to what we have just done, which is note the cycle. Note what those triggers are for us. Maybe it's too much alone time. Maybe the trigger is too much time around other people. Noticing or taking note of what those challenges are going to be, so that we can be proactive rather than reactive. And that's a lot. That's one of the biggest challenges being in relationship with people, is that we're often triggered and reactive before we even know anything's happened, right? We've already made that comment. We've already made that assumption. We're already triggered before we know anything is there. So being reactive rather than proactive. And so my hope for you the next few weeks is to be proactive in caring for yourself. Proactive in noticing what those triggers will be for you, and taking steps to keep from being overwhelmed or keep from being triggered. It's still going to happen, duh. You're gonna feel overwhelmed. You're gonna feel triggered at some point in the next few weeks. I can pretty much assume that, but you can anticipate, right? So I can know, okay, going home, in conversation with Aunt Pam, I have had to endure, and this is just hypothetical, I don't have an Aunt Pam. I've had to endure my whole life her making comments about my weight, or the fact that I'm not married with 3 children, or I know, I'm going to hear from our old, our family friend, and I'm going to have to endure his long rants about whatever, right? So we can know what those things are and anticipate. So part of it's identifying the cycle. That's number 1. If you want to write these down, number 1 is identify the cycle, or identify the trigger. The second is self-soothing. And that's what we did a minute ago. You've already done it. In our mindfulness exercise, I had you re-ground. So I did something very specific there that you may have noticed, you may not have noticed. I first asked you to become connected to your body. Then we moved into identifying the trigger, whereas that's where I asked you to become aware of any tension or sensation. That's basically emotional threat. I asked you to kind of take note of that. And then we did a re-grounding. So I asked you, so that's going to be the second one, is self-soothing or re-grounding. And things that are going to fall into that category are the exercise of using that imaginary box. Hey, I can put this stressor in that box and I can close the lid and I can come to it later. So with the example of politics, maybe somebody has made a comment and you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. Using that exercise visualizing placing that topic or placing that trigger in that box, gently with love, closing the box, and knowing that you can come back and revisit that topic when you're feeling safe. Because not every environment is going to be safe for us. So we can visualize putting things into this safe box so that we can take them out one at a time later on and address each one. Another self-soothing exercise is just becoming aware of our breath, which is again what we are doing. Deep inhale and a long, slow exhale. So if you know much about the nervous system, you know that the inhale is a gathering of energy and exhale is relaxing, releasing, and relaxing. And so we can use that to our advantage. So anxiety or nervousness is energy, right? It is nervous energy. So we want our exhale to be significantly longer than our inhale. That is letting our body know that it can relax. It's safe to relax. It doesn't need to gather up the energy. It can exhale safely. So elongating your exhale. And you can do that in the midst of overwhelm. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling tension. I'm noticing, in our gingerbread man, I'm noticing the butterflies in my stomach. My palms are sweating. I'm having that same old headache that always comes up. Taking those cues from our body that our body is saying, hey, something's not right. Pay attention to me. We can begin to self-soothe. So going back to that list was identify the cycle, self-soothe. I've got a million other ways of self-soothing that I can pull out of a hat if you ever want to ask me for more. The third one is setting boundaries. So that's saying, here, I'm putting up my shield. It's basically drawing a line and saying, that's your shit, this is my shit, and that's your shit, and not taking on somebody else's. It's basically not letting other people bleed on us, okay? And it's also, it's a way of delineating what is our responsibility and what's somebody else's responsibility. We can create boundaries in all sorts of ways. Big one is gonna be those verbal boundaries. Verbal boundaries can look like all sorts of things. So it's really just with words advocating for ourselves. So if you saw a child who was feeling trapped, I'm using Mary Emmeline's example, feeling trapped in their house, what would you want to do for them? Maybe you would want to reassure them that they won't be there forever. Maybe you would want to tell them, hey, you can step outside for a little bit. Maybe if that child who's in a conversation, that's too much for them. Maybe maybe you would protect them and say, hey, stop. This kid's overwhelmed. It's basically stepping in and protecting our inner child from the environment that we're in. Phrases that can be helpful are, I'm trying to narrow it down to like 3. One could be, thanks for asking. I'm not actually ready to talk about that right now, but I appreciate your concern. With Aunt Patty commenting on my weight, my physical appearance, saying, I'm not okay. I please don't comment on my body, and leaving it at that. If Aunt Patty continues to comment on my body, I can remind her of my boundary. Please don't make comments about my appearance. It could be simply changing the subject. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I want to talk about this other thing. And when all else fails, number 4, so we have identify the cycle. Second is self-soothe. Third, verbal boundaries. And the 4th is take a break. So sometimes the best thing for us to do is remove ourselves from the environment. Maybe that for us, if shopping is that overwhelm, taking a break would be, you know what, not doing it. Everybody's getting a gift card. Maybe it is saying, maybe it's physically walking out go into the bathroom and splashing some cold water on our face. So taking a break. I have so many other things I was going to share with you guys, but time has truly escaped me. So I want to end with one thing, and that is sort of your mission statement for, that sounded so corny. What was I going to call that? I don't know. One thing you want to remember moving into the next few weeks. And you can, think of it as your mission statement for the holidays. One thing you want to remember, if you were going to have one thing, okay, we're going to get a temporary tattoo. It's going to last us exactly 1 month. That should carry us into the middle of January. What is that one tattoo going to say? What is that one thing we need to remember for the next few weeks? Maybe that is, you are safe. Maybe that's what I need to remember. I'm safe. Maybe it is, you can speak up for yourself. Maybe it is, I am valuable. It could be a million different things, but what is that one phrase that's important for you to carry with you? What's that one mission statement that's important for you? Perhaps if you're going home for the holidays, this is just going to be a random example, but maybe growing up you felt belittled or not valued or respected in your family. And maybe what's important for you this holiday season is presenting yourself as an adult. So if that is sort of your mission, that's sort of the thing that you feel is important for you. I want to feel like an adult. I want to at least respect myself as an adult. That might be your mission statement. And that's also going to inform how you present yourself this holiday season. That might mean, okay, if I want to present myself as an authority, as an adult, that means I'm going to bring something to dinner. That means I'm going to offer to make the dessert and bring the dessert. Maybe that means, maybe it's something totally different for you. Maybe it's, usually I'm the one that keeps everything together and I'm the peacemaker. What's important for me is instead creating inner peace for myself, despite the conflict around me. Maybe that's the thing you need to remember. That's going to inform how you present to your community, or stand up for present for yourself in the next few weeks. So that's going to inform how you what you choose to do. That means I'm going to take a nice hot bath every evening. That means I'm not hosting, actually. I'm not going to host that party. Are people hosting parties? I don't know. Maybe that means stepping back from things. Maybe it is, I'm going to just stand up for myself verbally. That's a tricky one because the way other people respond, you have no control over that. But thinking is what you do have control over, and going with that. So technically we have 2 minutes left. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, any specific questions, I do have had a lot more content I thought I was going to cover. So I've definitely left things out. But if anybody has any specific questions or general comments, any specific struggles, or any specific breakthroughs, maybe something has made sense to you in a new way, feel free to unmute yourself or comment. Abby, I'm so glad. She said this was extremely helpful. Yeah. And the biggest takeaway I think I want for you, everybody who's here live, but anyone who's watching the replay, is always to have deeper compassion for your inner world. Because there are a lot of things that can make life challenging that we're not really aware of, but we feel the effects of. We may not be able to articulate it with our left brain, but our right brain and our body knows that it's a struggle. So just because you can articulate, or just because you can't articulate a struggle or an emotion or why something is challenging doesn't mean it's not valid, because that's only a very small part of us. That's our left brain. We have our full right brain that is extremely impactful. We have our limbic system, our survival brain, and we have our body. All the rest of us is picking up on information, making decisions for us, warning us against things. And so just because we can't articulate it doesn't mean that it's not extremely valid and extremely real. So my hope for you is that you will show compassion for yourself and make those decisions, or begin to start to make those decisions for yourself that protect you and allow for healing. And with that, I see Lauren saying, thank you, Leandri and Alexa. I love what you said about protecting our inner child. Thank you for this great session. You're very welcome. So I'm going to end in just about 30 seconds. Yeah, agreed. Inner child work is one of my favorite things. So really powerful. But if you have any comments or feedback, I would really value it from all of you guys. I know all of you personally, so would really love to hear your feedback on things that were helpful, things that would be helpful in the future. My plan is to do a presentation similar to this once a month at least on various topics. And I have a whole bunch of topics in mind, but I'd also like it to be geared towards things that people are interested in. So would just love your feedback. Even if you don't know that you'd be able to attend again, still would love to hear your feedback. Anyway, here is wishing you a very peace-filled holiday and